Hello, people. You're welcome to ProUp Masterclass. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and in today's class, I'm going to be answering um, a request. I'm going to be attending to a request that was made a couple of days ago when I put up a post on Twitter, or on X as they call it now. Um, and most of the time, when I write or put up a post on X, I share it on most of my platforms like WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn from time to time, and I have people make comments. And sometimes I have people ask me to make a podcast, um, diving deeper into some of the things I put out there on this social media platform, some of the posts I put out there on social media platform. And so I put out a post a couple of days ago, and my very good friend Emmanuel Henacho reached out to me, and I decided to address this post and go a little bit deeper into my thoughts in writing this post. Um, and Emmanuel is a very special friend of mine. He's a great friend. I'm just going to use the opportunity to shout out to him. He's an amazing friend. I always tell people this: when you have friends that knew you when you were young and foolish, in quote, um, and then know you when you are grown and wiser, and can come to that place of saying, hey, my friend, you've grown, you are doing good with what you're doing in your life. When you have friends that see you on a path, and on the right path, and can cheer you on, especially the friends that knew you when you didn't even know your path, hold on to those friends. Because one of the hardest things is to have people in your life that knew you your early seed days, um, and then get to know you when the seed is taking root and growing and can continue to help water you. It's so hard to find those people. A lot of people that knew in your seed days would always want you to remain in your seed days, and they will underestimate you. They will dismiss you. Those are people that will dismiss you the most. They'll say, "Oh, it's not just Tola. What's the writing? Not just Tola. What's the recording?" You understand? They won't listen to you. I have a few friends have um who have appreciated my growth as a person, and they help me see it, and they encourage, and Emmanuel is one of them. So a big shout out to you, Emmanuel, if you're listening to this, and I know you will listen to this. You understand? It's one of my few friends who I can say I know listens to my content, and that's such a great honor to have someone who I grew up with can say, oh, it this what my friend is doing makes sense, and still humble himself to listen to my content where I teach. It's very, very hard for my mates to listen to my content and say, oh, I want to be taught by Tola. Um, that's great wisdom in itself, to humble yourself to just learn from anyone. So Emmanuel asked me to go to dive deeper into this post I put up a couple of days ago, and I'm going to use the opportunity to ask anyone, if you read any of my posts and you just feel you want me to dive deeper, send me a message and just say, can you do a podcast on this? And I you know I just might be willing to do a podcast on it if I feel it's something I need to go deeper in. But then please feel feel free to reach out to me. um so in this post, I wrote 5 things that have incredible power to either limit or liberate your life. 5 things that have incredible power to either limit or liberate your life. And the first thing I wrote was number one, parenting. Um, Number one, parenting. So I'm going to go into them. I'm going to talk about my thoughts as I name these things. So I'm not going to go through the list at once. Parenting was the first thing I wrote as the first thing that can either limit or liberate your life. And it's a very unique thing for something to have the power to either limit or liberate your life. There are very few things in life that act as both an elixir and a poison. Very few things in life that can be an elixir and a poison at the same time. And all these 5 things I'm going to talk about can be incredibly powerful elixirs, that is medicine that could cure diseases, and they could be very, very potent poisons that could kill people. And parenting is number one thing that could either put your life on the right path or totally derail your life. Um, Parenting, I've come to find out, because I'm a parent myself, and this is subject matter that me and my wife talk about every single day. I doubt there's any day when we do not sit and just talk about how Herculean a task the task of parenting is. We talk about it a lot. I think parenting is one of the biggest responsibilities that God gives man or gives any creature. You understand? Parenting. Oh, such an incredible responsibility. It could be a burden sometimes. Um, Parenting is such an incredible responsibility. I can't overstate this. I can't overstate this. And that's why I put it as number one. You understand? Parenting is number one. Um, in this list I'm going to go through, I want you to pay attention to my number one and number six and number five. You understand? The first and the last. Very important. Um, Number one, this parenting is, um, you know, the truth is that as a parent, you are the first human experience that a child has. You are the first human experience. You are the you are the prototype of human interaction. For every child, the parent is the prototype of what it is like to interact with a fellow human being. And that in itself, in that statement, shows how important that experience or that duty of parenting is. You are the yardstick by which people would measure whether human beings are good or bad people. The parent. We set the standard for the perception that children have of human beings. Parenting is that important. I've met way too many people that have been derailed in their lives and disillusioned and shattered by their parents. It's so sad. It's so sad um, that there are so many people with shackles that they carry around, with limitations that they carry around in their mind because of words that their parents told them. Now, no, and that's why parenting a lot of times can be like walking on eggshells. Um, and that's why I have like a deep sense of a deep sense of anxiety for people that parent and have no spiritual backing. I'm like, how? It just, I feel so anxious when I see a parent that say, "Oh, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist." You understand? And you're a parent. I'm like, how do you manage it? How does your heart cope? How do you go through the day? It's like somebody driving blindfolded and just say, I don't need my eyes. You understand? It scares me when I see people parenting without a spiritual backing. I think it's absolutely impossible to parent without a spiritual backing, because you are laying too much of a template down, and it's something you need to be constantly schooled by a higher source. Even when you have a spiritual backing, you still make mistakes. Not talk about when you don't have one. I think every parent needs a spiritual backing. I think I personally might have lost my mind if I didn't have God as a spiritual backing to help me and my wife each day in parenting our kids through the Bible. You understand? Through the leading of things we've seen in the Bible. I don't know how I would have managed. I don't know how to manage. And so parenting, can be a big limitation in people's lives. I have people who are in occupations that they have no passion. They are sad going to work. They are sad coming back from work. They are only happy on Fridays and Saturdays. On Sundays, they are sad because they are thinking of going to work the next day, mostly because of career paths that their parents have influenced, career paths that they do not want to be in. They're like, oh, I'm an engineer because my daddy wants me to be. I'm an accountant because my mommy wants me to be. My parents want me to be. So they go and study subject matters that they have no interest in and become professionals in things for which they have no passion. And their lives just derail from there. Derail. And on the other hand, I've also seen people who have parents that have helped them to find their passion. Because parents notice you from very little. You understand? Parents, they notice you from your first day. They saw you from your first day. There are things I've said about my children at different stages. I've told my wife, even when they were very young, this boy will be like this. And when you see them, they actually take on that character because I can see it. When all my kids were born, I looked into their eyes and there were things I saw in them. I saw their special, unique characteristics. I saw it, and I was able to share them with my wife, and it's incredible how some of it just is just showing up right now, and those things reflected in the names we gave them also. And so it's your parents see your uniqueness first. There's a story in the Bible about Moses, and it says when his mother gave birth to him, even before he did anything, she knew he was a special child. That's why she didn't throw him in the river. You understand? Because she knew just by looking at him, her spirit told her that this is a special child. And so, you see, we as parents are the first, so a lot of times, the spotters. We're the ones that can spot what's unique about our seeds. And we're the ones that can convey it to them. So I see a lot of people that I see that are confident out there. It's because their parents told them how special they were. You understand? So parenting is just so important. And I think one of the most important things about parenting, if you're a parent, and one of the most incredible gifts you can give your child is to be together. Is the gift of union. The gift of union between both parents. Incredible gift. I think even if parents were deaf and dumb, you couldn't communicate with your kids. The only communication your kid would need in order to be confident and fulfilled and blossom is to consistently see both of you love each other and live in unity. Separation is a killer of esteem. When kids feel like they are coming from a a home that is from a relationship that is hateful, a relationship that is full of turmoil, they feel like they are products of hate. They feel like they are unwanted products. But when kids feel like they come from a relationship of love, a relationship of friendship, a relationship of understanding, they feel like they are products of love. You understand? And there's no better feeling than knowing that you were born out of love. You were born out of friendship. You understand? So one of the biggest gifts parents can give their children is unity, is staying together. You understand? And staying together is only possible if you are meant to be together, if you are married to your friend, if you are married to someone you actually love and someone you actually chose. But we'll come to that. Now, the second thing outside parenting, because I can spend the whole podcast talking about parenting, is schooling. The second thing that can limit or liberate your life is schooling. And this, a lot of times, is the stage that comes after parenting. And it's very, very hard for me to say this thing like after parenting because a lot of people see schooling as after parenting, but there's nothing like after parenting. Parenting is a lifelong commitment. You understand? But I'll say this stage is the stage we are introduced to after the stage become aware of the stage of parenting is schooling for a lot of us. The problem is that A lot of kids get introduced to school way too early. You understand? So schooling becomes a thing of convenience for the parents. You understand? They just need to free themselves of this burden of this child that they commit so much time to. So we throw them into school. So we have things like crutches where we put kids. I don't believe in crutches, to be honest with you. I think crutches have done more to destroy children than to actually take care of them. But then, because a lot of us live in this modern world where ambition is more important than mission, than godly mission. We are quick to throw our children into schools. The concept of schooling in itself is not a bad concept. I would say that the concept of schooling is not a bad concept. Schooling is about learning. I feel, but the truth of the matter is, when we think of school, we think of classroom. But school starts from the home. The strongest school is the home. The strongest school, again, we go back to the parent. It's the parent. That's the first teacher. But a lot of parents don't even see themselves as teachers anymore. They see the school teacher, the school establishment as the teachers. And it's not a bad thing if the school establishment is doing their work as um, as with a sense of duty, not with a sense of business. And that's the problem. We now live in this capitalist era where even schooling, which is meant to be is a mission, you understand, is meant to be a missionary duty. It's not meant to be a business duty. So you see, back in the days in Nigeria, early days when we used to have missionary schools run by the missionaries, you see, they did that work and they did it diligently. So when people went to school, they actually learned values. Do you understand? They actually learned values. They didn't just learn academic things, subject matters. They learned values. They learned human values. They learned spiritual values. Do you understand? And that's how schools are meant to be run. But now schools are run by business people. And that's why school can be a limitation or a liberation. You see, I've met quite a number of people with very unique ideas, unique concept of things they want to do. And I always get very anxious when they tell me, I think I ought to go to study a master to learn more about this thing. Oh, that makes me so anxious. So anxious. I'm like, wow, are you sure you want to do that now? Are you sure you don't want to just see how far this thing goes just running on the battery of interest and ideation without formal education? I sure you don't want that battery to get to its end first. Because you see, school can be a limitation because it is so highly structured. It's so highly structured and so unyielding. At least most of school, most schools are like that. Not all schools, but a lot of schools are very structured in their curriculum and so unyielding to changing that structure. A lot of schools are so calcified, they've become so hard, you understand, in their approach to teaching and in what they see as learning and what they see as measuring success, that they are not open to new ideas. So if you're someone with a new idea, a school might be the worst place to take you to, because they will tell you those ideas don't work. Those ideas don't work. You see, I studied architecture, and I had a number of classmates that were really, really talented, incredibly talented. You could see from their ideas that they were incredibly talented people, very talented. But then they had architectural concepts that were not usual. Now we're not usual. They were a lot of fantastic ideas, rooted in fantasy. But then we had lecturers who were rooted in standard, and they were rooted in curriculum. They were rooted in the usual. You understand? So they're rooted in triangular roof, square rooms, rectangular windows. That's what they were. But we had these dreamers who started out year one, year two dreaming, but by the time they got to their final year, they had been beaten down to standard. They had been reduced to standard. And, I saw some of them just begin to chip away and question their own creative abilities just because the lecturer said, this cannot work. We do not do this way. Where did you learn this? What book told you this? And I saw a lot of passionate people become strict professionals. You understand? And it was one of the saddest things. And those are the people that were released into society to serve as architects. And that's sad. School became their biggest limitation. That's the danger of school. And so, with schooling, we need to be very intentional. School can be a liberator too. And but school needs to be willing to change, and we do. And that's things. When school is too rigid, it cannot liberate. It can only limit. It can only be a prison. You understand? It can never be a pathway. Um, and so school can be a liberator, but unfortunately or fortunately, I would say it's not the school we look to that is the liberator. You see, my first son, impresses me a lot with some things he says. He's 8 years old, but then he has like the mind of a 60-year-old. To be honest with you, his vocabulary is incredible. His analytical mind is incredible. There are a lot of things I can ask him and just say, "What animal is this?" When I see a dinosaur, I just say, "What dinosaur is this?" And he will answer me. You see, he sleeps with books by his bedside. He's that interested in learning. But then I realized that when he started formal school, he now began to hate the concept of learning. He was one person I would have thought would have said, I want to go to school, but then he's the one person that constantly says, is today school day? Oh, thank God, today is Saturday. Oh, thank God. He's so happy. And that really just scared me. I'm like, this guy that is such an incredible mind is doesn't find attractive a place that should be like a candy store for people like him, should be like an amusement park for people like him. But then I realized that that schooling is too rigid for him. It's not visual enough. It's not active enough. It's not evolving enough. And so I realized that he spends a lot of time either reading a book or watching TV. He spends most time watching TV. And I'll tell you, TV is not bad. You understand? It's the content. And so he watches a lot of content that you might not find a child his age watching. And when he's watching, it's very frustrating to watch a content with him, especially when he's watching stuff on the internet. He rewinds a lot. He can rewind like 5 times a particular scene, and that's because not only is he entertained, he's also interested in the information. So after he has watched it, he can tell you line for line what the person said. And so there was a time um I was preparing him for school, and he draws comics and writes stories, and he was telling me about one of his comic characters, and he says the guy lives in a pagoda styled house, and I was like, how do you know what a pagoda is? And he told me he learnt it on something he was watching on TV. I've forgotten what the content was, and he said, a pagoda. I didn't learn that till I was in my 300 level in school, in university, and you already know that, and you barely started primary school. And you see, that's that schooling that he got on TV through the content on TV liberated him to think beyond his age, beyond his class assignment. You understand? Beyond the class he was assigned to. He was interested in subject matters that people his age should not be interested in. He was free to learn. And so, you see, schooling is a great limitation when it is rigidly formal. But school is a great liberator when it's interestingly informal. You understand? And that's how school can be a limitation or a liberation. So, parenting, schooling, the first two. The third one is marriage. Marriage, wow, limitation, liberator. You know, um, when I mentioned marriage just now, my heart skipped a bit because it's such a heavy word. I mean, I have an incredible job, and I love my job. I started out as a designer, a graphic designer, and I evolved into a brand consultant, and now I do a lot of what they call life coaching and advising and mentoring. And it's just an incredible job. I never thought I would love anything more than I love designing, but I love what I'm doing right now. It can be a very it can be very hard, but still enjoyable. It can be very hard because of the things I get to hear um when people open up to me. But then that's the honor of just having somebody being vulnerable with you, just trusting you this the details of their life that they haven't been able to trust a lot of other people with. It's very humbling. And why I say this is because I meet so many people whose life have been derailed by marriage, terribly derailed by marriage. Oh man, and it's such a pain because outside of parenting, when you leave your parents, you leave the schooling environment. A lot of us go into romantic relationships, which end up in marriage, and that's the rest of your life. You understand? That is the rest of your life. That's a commitment for the rest of your life. A lot of times it is, and so the marriage place becomes the place we call home. And when the marriage is troublesome, it means you have no home. It means you become a vagabond. And there are so many people that are vagabonds in their own homes. They become vagabonds in their own homes. Oh, nothing could be more torturous than this. Becoming a vagabond in your own home is torture. When you go home and you're not excited to see the person who is waiting for you at home or the person you're coming home to, oh, I don't think people understand how terrible a torture that is. Life just loses its color. The matter of marriage is it's a very heavy one. There are way too many people that have been limited by marriage that I've met than people that have been liberated by marriage. It's sad to say, I know way too many people that have been limited, whose lives have been limited by marriage, than people whose lives have been liberated by marriage. And that's because people go into marriage excited, not informed. A lot of people go into marriage out of a sense of excitement, not out of knowledge and information. People don't learn enough about themselves and about each other before they get married. They don't learn enough. You see, people who don't know themselves entering into marriage with another person who doesn't know him or herself. And then it's a catastrophe. It's catastrophic. You understand? Terrible what happens. It's like an atom bomb. You understand? A nuclear bomb, a weapon of mass destruction. Because a bad marriage will foster bad parenting. You understand? That's why when I talked about marriage, I gave a cliffhanger that was going to lead into. When I talk about parenting, there was a cliffhanger there that was going to lead into marriage. Who you choose, how you choose, who you are going to spend the rest of your life with. Wow. I don't even know what to say here because it's such a heavy matter. Um, you see, a lot of times marriage can be deeper than parenting because marriage has to do with a joining to someone. And I was discussing this with my wife. Um, you see, people are close to their mothers because they were They stayed in their mother's womb. They were part of their mother's body for 9 months. You understand? Most people 9 months, at most 9 months. You understand? So averagely 9 months, people were in their mother's womb. So they feel that sense of bonding with them. So a lot of women say, I carried you in my womb. You understand? Just as a sense of we were one. You understand? But then the difference between marriage and parenting is, at least you and your mom, you stayed in a womb for 9 months, but then you got detached and you moved out of a womb. With marriage, it's a fusion. Do you understand? It's a fusion. So you know how I was watching a documentary. I was talking about the difference between an atom bomb and a nuclear bomb. An atom bomb has to do with the splitting of an atom. Creates so much energy when you split an atom that when you split so many at the same time, it creates this incredible energy that could destroy a lot of things. That's how an atom bomb is made. But then talked about a nuclear bomb. A nuclear bomb is way more powerful than an atom bomb, as in times 50 more powerful, because it has to do with fusion. You understand? So atoms need to come together and fuse together. So when they fuse together, there's even more energy made. And that's why parent is like an atom bomb. It's delicate like an atom bomb. But marriage is delicate like a nuclear weapon, like a nuke. You understand? It's a weapon of mass destruction. And so you need to be careful who you fuse with, because if you fuse with the wrong person, you create the wrong energy. When you fuse with the right person, you create incredibly positive energy that could impact not only your seeds, but every other person around you, your world. And so marriage is a very important decision. Very important. I, I'm so blessed. And now if you listen to my podcast, you hear me talk about my wife a lot. Even my wife gets tired of saying, why are you talking about me? What did I do this time? But one thing is that I've had a wife that allowed me to do allowed me to do me. That's such an incredible blessing. To allow me to do me. See, when I started this speaking, teaching, even when I started graphic design, I wasn't making any serious money, if any at all. It was nickels and dimes, you understand, hand to mouth. It wasn't. But then my wife has never ever pressured me to leave my passion. Never, never ever pressured me to leave my passion. She's been patient. She's the manager of the home, and she has restricted a lot of our spending to what the income I make and the income we both make. You understand? It had never been. There was a time she was earning way more than me, because my wife is a medical doctor. So sometimes she was earning way more than me, even when she was doing her housemanship. You understand? She was really earning way more than me. You understand? She made ₦1 million before I did. You understand? So it takes a very humble woman for me not to even notice that. You understand? She allowed me to do me. Allowed me to do me. She allows me to do me. You understand? Has never compared me to anybody. Never ever. You understand? Allowed me to do me. And sometimes I think about me, I'm like, if I were her, would I allow me to do me? You understand? Because it's easy to look out there and look at what your friends are doing and what they can afford and stuff like that, and to just be frustrated by not being able to do that thing. You understand? So it's very easy to push a man out there. Say, go out there and do what you got to do. Go out there and make sure we travel more. Go out there and make sure we're in a bigger house. Go out there and But then I've been blessed with that, and I must remind myself of that every single day, that I've been blessed with a wife that allows me to do me, allows me to fly, allows me to be here recording this podcast right now. You understand? I see a lot of guys that have dreams, but it's very easy to have dreams when you're single, and I tell them, I will come back to those dreams when you get married, because you do not really know what you'll be doing with your life till you get married. What you are doing with as a single person is only a hobby, not a commitment. It only becomes a commitment after you're married and you're still doing it, either as a man or a woman. If you are doing anything and you say, oh, I'm committed to this thing, I'll write it in pencil. Write it in pencil. It can only be written in ink when you fuse with somebody and the person still allows you to do it. A lot of people think, how can my wife allow me to do something? How can my husband allow me? I am my own person. It will shock you how marriage can limit you if you are married to the wrong person. And that's why in my podcast where I talk about the soul, I talk about the soulmate. Your soulmate, very important, someone that understands what your soul wants. And you don't need to talk too much to sell those yearnings of your soul to them. They get it even before you say it. They get it. Um, it's not a romance thing. It's a functional thing. It's not nothing romantic about it. It's not about how they look and stuff. And we base a lot of marriage on those things. Those things are important, that you're physically attracted, but no, they're not the most important things. There must be a connection between you and the person you're married to. If that person is to be a liberation to you, not a limitation. You understand? So marriage is a very important subject matter when it comes to limiting or liberating. The fourth thing is money. Money, the most important, no, the most important, the most popular. I won't say it's the most important, but a lot of people make it the most important. And that in itself is a limitation. Money. Money can be a big limitation or a liberation to life. Money, money, the big M. So when I put this out on LinkedIn, um wrote a comment and said marriage and money, the two M's. And immediately she said it was loud. It was loud in my ears. Because they are the two they are the two big M's in life. Two big M's in life, marriage, money. It's interesting that money can easily derail marriage, and it has derailed a lot of marriages because a lot of people use money as a means of making up for failures. So when you make mistakes, throw money at it. When I've married wrong, at least let me enjoy money. So marriages that break up because of money is because they are trying to compensate for an initial wrong decision. You understand? So I might as well be compensated for marrying this monster. You understand? So money can a lot of times be a distraction. So when people think of money as a limitation, a lot of people will think I'm going to talk about money as a lack of money as a limitation. No, a lack of money is not really a limitation. No, it's not. It's not as much a limitation as a dependence on money, a fixation on money. So when I talk about money as a limitation, I'm not talking about poor people. I'm talking about people with a poor mentality. And there are rich people with poor mentalities. People that always think about how they are going to monetize everything in their life. So they see everything with money signs on them. They cannot involve or give themselves without money. So everything for them is transactional. They live a very transactional life. And the biggest hindrance to living a transformative life is when you are living a transactional life. You understand? So some people cannot get their mind off the subject matter of money. Some people, the biggest mistake they made in their life is the time they made so much money. And you see, this way parenting comes in. I really believe a lot of people have school of thought that introduce your children to money early enough, to earning money. That's not bad. But then introduce them to themselves first. You understand? Ground them in themselves. Never ever introduce a child to money who doesn't know him or herself. Never. Because money can be a very powerful thing and it can pervade your identity. And once it does, it holds on like a parasite. You understand? Like a leech, like a tick, and suck the blood out of you. You must know yourself first before ever looking for money. So it's only in knowing yourself as a child that your intent can be pure. When a child knows himself and is able to express himself with pure intent, and how do you express yourself with pure intent? By doing things for the pure pleasure. You understand? For the joy of doing it. For the joy. set before you, just for that joy. Do it for the joy. Oh, that's the greatest thing, one of the greatest things you can give to a person, to do things for the joy of doing it. When you corrupt them with the mentality of doing things for the reward, oh man, you've set someone on a path of disillusionment and on a path of greed. You understand? And that's how money can be a limitation. Some people can't think without money, and money is fickle. Here today, gone tomorrow. You understand? The Bible talks about people who have brought a lot of pain on their life just because of their fixation on money. A fixation on money is a terrible thing. To be fixated on money. You know, in my life, I've gotten to impact so many lives, not because I was looking to be someone of great impact. I've gotten to impact so many lives because I'm someone who is not scared to express, as long as the reward is a sense of fulfillment, not a fee. My greatest payment for what I do is an inner sense of fulfillment, not a bank alert. And because of that, I'm able to pour out myself every single time I do something that I love. And that has helped me to connect with so many people that I wouldn't have connected with because they couldn't afford my fees. So many people are a stumbling block in their own way and a giant wall in their own way because they do not engage with people because those people cannot pay their fee. They have a rate card for everything they are doing. And again, it's a capitalist mentality. We live in a capitalist world. If it's free, then you are being a fool. But that's not true. That's not true. You understand? The capitalist Bible tells you that. The real Bible tells you should give freely. Give freely. Very important. It takes you to places you never thought. Giving freely. You understand? People go out and talk about you in ways you never ever thought. Never thought. Some weeks ago, I got a phone call from somebody to come and speak in a place that I remember trying, working there for a while, not as a staff, but working there as like with a company that was like an external consultant to them. And I went to the place for the first time, and I was looking around, and I was like, "Whoa, man! I would really love to be able to work in this place in the future." I was still very young then, and I saw how nice the place looked, the glass offices, people in their suits, their canteens, everything just looked like, wow, how can I get to be here? But my qualification doesn't allow me to be here. And just some weeks ago, someone gave me a phone call and said, "Would you like to speak to us here? How much would it cost for you to speak to us here?" And I had to just pause and just think, wow, from giving this thing freely, giving my value freely, this person saw what I was doing, picked up their phone, and called me to this place that a lot of people are waiting at the gate strategically to get into. And this, like, red carpet. Incredible. You understand? Incredible. But you see, if I made money my first objective, a lot of things I should have given freely, I wouldn't have given. And they would have been with me. And they would have reached the person who was meant to reach. You understand? Some people cannot afford you now. But one thing I know in life is that life has a great sense of humor. The man who is poor today is the most influential tomorrow. The man who is influential today is a non-entity tomorrow. Give freely. Give freely. Let it be in people's hands, because you never know who that person will be and where that person will go. Give freely. Let them go out and talk about what they've gotten freely from you. Don't let money be a limitation. Liberate yourself from it. Now, money can be a liberator too. That's the truth. Having money is not a bad thing. I would never say having money is a bad thing. It allows you to do some things. And what I'm going to say about money is, you know, whenever I've had money, I've recorded the most podcasts. That's how money can be a liberator. It frees you up from looking at hustling to meet your needs. When you have money to do things, like whenever I have money and I'm able to, like, my family's cool, we are good, it just frees me up to just come out and just pour myself out. You understand? It frees up my time. It frees up my time a lot of times. So money can be a liberator. You understand? Just having that. But I would have you know it might not always be that way. And that's where diligence comes in, where even without money, you are able to do what you have to do. You understand? Not get distracted. But it's great to have money. I can't lie to you. It is good. It's good to have money. It's good to have the mentality that you cannot lack. Very important. You understand? To have that mentality that money cannot be an obstacle for you. So it frees you up to concentrate. It frees you up to concentrate on what you really want to do in your life. But then don't get hooked to it. Don't get hooked to it. A lot of people, when there's provision made for them to concentrate on an assignment, what they begin to think about is, okay, once this money finishes, how can I get provision to concentrate on the next assignment? That means you are now hooked. You are now hooked not on the process of doing the assignment, you are hooked on the process of getting money so that you can concentrate on the next assignment. And that means you are no longer concentrating on the present assignment. You understand? So if I have enough right now to give me the time to sit down and give this podcast freely, while I'm doing this podcast, I cannot be preoccupied with, how about next week when I want to do the podcast, will I have enough? Then I've become hooked to the concept of having money. Money now owns me because my mind is now on the money. You understand? Your mind must always be on the assignment you're doing. That's how money can be a liberator. It allows you to focus. And that means while you're focusing, you are not thinking about money. You are thinking about the service. So, yeah, the concept of money is it's so deep. You understand? It's so deep, but don't let money own you. You understand? Own it, but don't let it own you. Don't be wrapped up in greed. Don't be more excited about payment than you are about service. I think that was one of the main indicators that made me realize I would begin to lose my passion for graphic design. It got to a point where I was more excited about being paid, than about doing the job. So I got to that point where whenever I had a client, my thought was always, oh, thank God, money is about to come in. And I realized that I didn't start out that way. When I started out graphic design, when I got a client, my thought was always, whoa, another exciting time to work. And then I had to be real with myself. Tola, you're beginning to lose your passion for this thing because you're more interested in the money than you are in the work. And the dangers of that, how that limited me, was immediately the client paid upfront, because at that point I'd gotten to a stage whereby clients already trusted my work. You understand? A lot of them were willing to pay 100% upfront. Immediately I got that alert that they had paid, I lost interest in the job again. It now became a struggle to do the job. I was like, okay, so now let's get it done. You understand? Let's get it done. And then I will drag my way through it because the money had entered. I'd gotten the money. And one thing about money, when you're fixated on it, once you get it, your thirst for it heightens. So what you have doesn't satisfy you anymore. You are looking for the next high. Then you become dependent on it. You become an addict to it. But I remember when I was doing graphic design earlier on, and just the same thing with my speaking now. When anyone invites me to come and speak, I'm more excited about speaking. And when they now pay, I'm like, wow, had so much fun. and I got paid. That's incredible. It's just like getting paid to go to an amusement park, getting paid to take a ride, getting paid to play a video game, getting paid to sleep, getting paid to watch Netflix. That's how I feel when I get paid to speak. I'm like, you pay me to have so much fun? That sounds like a good deal. Because I thought I'd been paid already. You understand? That's how I feel. And that's how money can be a liberator, when it's the icing on the cake, not the cake itself. Now, the last one I'm going to talk about, the last thing that can act both as a limitation or a liberation to your life is religion. Religion. It's a biggie. Religion. Wow. Now, I understand this because I'm in this society, Nigeria, where religion is a big subject matter. Religion is a big subject matter in Nigeria. Nigeria is a highly religious society. And that might sound like a good thing, but it really isn't. Because I realize Nigeria is a religious society because it's a very poverty stricken society. And when you mix religion and poverty, you have a very deadly cocktail. Because now people do religion with a sense of getting. And religion should not be done for a sense of getting. Religion should be done for a sense of guidance, not getting. But when you bring religion to a poor person, and when I say poor person, I mean poor in mind, poor mentality, someone that is hooked on money and getting money, they are going to use it as an ATM machine, a slot machine. You understand? But religion is an ATM machine. Religion should be a compass. You understand? So when you have an ATM machine working like a compass, people will try to break the compass. You understand? They will feel it's a faulty ATM machine. You understand? But religion is a compass, not an ATM machine. And so religion can be a very dangerous thing in a society where there's a lot of poverty. Because people now need God to get, not God to guide. They need God as a servant, not God as a master. So you have people telling God what they want rather than listening to what God wants of them. This can be a huge limitation to life, because the biggest liberty we have as men is to be what God wants us to be. The biggest limitation a man has is to be what he wants to be. Your biggest limitation as a person is your ambition, what I want to be. Your biggest liberator is finding your mission in life, that which God wants you to be. Unfortunately, we use religion as a form of ambition, of reaching our ambition. So a lot of times we are misguided by people that can control us because they tell us what we want, what our ambition wants to hear. So as long as there is a man telling you, or a man or a woman telling you what your ambition wants to hear, what you want for your life, you would listen to them. And they become the voice of God. But we should use religion as a means of knowing what God wants for us. That's the biggest problem of religion. That's why it's a great limitation in people's lives. Because they see this thing as a genie. You understand? Whatever religion, they just see it as having a genie that grants them their wishes. Do you understand? As long as you can rub it, you understand, grants you your genie, grants you your wishes. So I've seen so many people that claim to be religious, and they are religious, but they have no faith. You understand? Faith is your ability to commit your needs, your wants, your life, your desires into God's hand and trusting Him to be able to best direct and control your life. But people are looking for a God they can control. And by so doing, they limit their own lives. They limit their lives. Religion has become so complicated in today's world because people move to religious circles that allows them to do what they want. So even in the Christian sphere, there are so many variations of Christianity today. Some accept this, some don't accept. Some accept something else, some don't accept. Some accept a little bit of this, some don't accept. So there's no standard anymore because it has been infused by people's personal ambitions. So we go to a place that aligns with our personal ambitions, not a place where we get a sense of mission. It's really sad that religion, which is meant to be a form of humans getting clarity, religion is meant to be a form of clarity for the human being, has become a form of self-gratification. You understand? It has become a form of self-gratification where people are fixed on their own ways, on what they want, on what they will get in the end. So it's all about getting, not about guidance. It's all about getting. And I've seen way too many young people get dissuaded. You understand? Make the wrong choices because of religion. You see, religion is so strong because it affects our attitude to all these things I mentioned. Every single one affected by religion. Parenting. I've seen people make serious parenting blunders because of something somebody told them in a religious institution. The religious authority told them that if you do this and do this and do this, you will have a breakthrough in your life. Do you understand? People do ridiculous things with their children, to their children. You understand? I've seen people ignore their children to follow a religious leader. They spend more time with the religious leader than they do spend with their family, with their children. So their parenting is warped. It's seriously warped. I've seen religion affect schooling. You see people in school, they should pay attention in school. They're not paying attention in school because they believe that in doing their religion, they will get better grades in school. So their schooling is totally messed up. Totally. Because they believe religion is a form of getting. So if I spend this time doing this religious activity, I should get good grades. And when it doesn't happen, they become sad and depressed. I've seen religion mess up marriages. Religion mess up marriages. Because you see people that are forced to marry someone because a religious leader has told them their destiny is tied to one man or one woman. That's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing. So you see women getting married to men for whom they have no affection. Man getting married to woman for whom he has no love. But my pastor told me to. My religious leader told me to. Do you understand? And they tell them, what they are going to get from that marriage if they obey them, the religious leaders. I've seen people stay in marriages that are abusive and could take their life, but because their religious leader told them, you have to stay there, you have to stay there, you have to endure until someone's life is lost. Religion, money. You see, it's funny that religion has made more greedy people than generous people. Religion has fostered the spirit of greed more than the spirit of generosity. It's ridiculous because religion is meant to make us surrender more. And that's why when you go to a church, I've never been to a mosque before, but I'll talk about the church. When you go to a church, you're almost confused about whether you are in a multi-level marketing meeting or you are in a spiritual house. And a lot of it is you hear more about money than you hear about mission. You understand? You hear more about money than you hear about mission. You hear more about prosperity than you hear more about passion. All people. It's ridiculous. So people have the wrong values. People are more fixated on money through religion than they are on mission. Church has fostered that mentality of not doing for free than any other institution out there. About money, getting. The trigger is always how religion can get you more, how you can get more, how you can get more. But religion should be an amplifier of God's voice. How to get to do what God wants you to do. But it's far from that today. And that's why a lot of people's lives are limited by religion. It's a great limitation. Religion is the only thing that gets really intelligent, wise people. It's the only institution where people are required to drop their brain at the door before coming in. The only one. People are required to drop their brain. I've seen so many ridiculous videos from all around the world. No, nowhere is spared. Nowhere. Where people are doing incredibly ridiculous things just for the sake of what they think they would get after performing particular rituals. I've seen people walk through prosperity doors, and you actually see a door frame put in the middle of a church, and you have educated people walk through that door, and they believe that by walking through that door, they are walking into their prosperity. It's all fostered by a sense of getting. You've seen people eat grass at a command, because they believe by doing this, they will get something. I've seen people take lives of other people, lives of their children, lives of their loved ones, because they believe by so doing, they will get something, because they've been promised by their spiritual leaders. Religion could be a great limitation in people's lives, even though it was made to give us clarity. It was meant to get us closer to God. But then our concept of God is corrupted because we see God as our servant, not our master. So these are the 5 things. 5 things that could act as limitation or liberation to your life: parenting, schooling, marriage, money, and religion. I do hope someone finds this podcast helpful and is able to apply a lot of things I've said here to your lives and get some clarity from it. We were made to freely express our lives, and it's disheartening to find out that a lot of people die without even expressing their lives to a quarter of their lives. It's sad, and it's my prayer today that everyone listening to this podcast will find liberation to freely express your life.